All right. Hope everybody's well. Good to see everybody in the house. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's get to this. Shout out to everybody. Hope everybody's good. Welcome back to the Onyx Report, Black Masculinist news for the day. Hope everybody is good. See a number of people came through early. That is much appreciated. All right. Shout out to Cool Kyle. What's going on? John, ETA, Edward, what's happening? Ice, Grab Second Gear. I'm listening. What's going on? Omari, Ahmed, Real Black Gentleman, Carl, what's happening? Electrician 480. Good to see you. LXST, what's happening? TIQS, Michael. Shout out to Michael for the donation. Much appreciated. Gail at night, what's going on? Continue doing the good work finding these kidnapped girls. Thank you for that work. Mr. GQ Smooth, what's happening? Let's see. All right. We got Anthony in here, Longo, Marvis, Sower of Seed, Cellulite, Broken Blade. What is happening? Code Father, what's happening? So we're trying to get it in. And, you know, good brother reached out to me, said he wanted to have a conversation. So I'm looking forward to him coming through. So hopefully he'll be in any moment. But, you know, we got some business to take care of first. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping first and foremost. What's up, Wrench Turner? Captain, what's going on? I'm having a ball. Son is home from college. So, you know, chilling, spending a lot of time with him, you know, finding out about his year. It's always a good thing to kind of, you know, get to be reintroduced to your kids when they're grown. You know, you get to know them all over again, find out what they're into, what they're passionate about. So we're having a ball. And, you know, just cooked for him yesterday. So, you know, when they get back from school and they want a home cooked meal, he actually asked me for something I used to cook for him. So I cooked him some red beans and short ribs and some cornbread, and, you know, he had a ball. So I'm in a great place. I'm getting to see my son, you know, as a young man grow. and I'm lit. I'm lit about that. So I'm having a ball, but I had to come back through and make sure y'all know I'm still here. So I appreciate that. Now, a couple things we're going to get into before the good brother comes through. Hopefully the timing works out well. But first and foremost, because I haven't been broadcasting as much, I missed something that I think is important. And I think I should take a moment to acknowledge it. Most of you are already familiar, so this is not new information, but I still think it's important for me to at least acknowledge. So this is This is Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, celebrated educator, author, and advocate for Black youth, who passed away not long ago. And I didn't mention it in the last show. It slipped my mind, which I'm ashamed to say, but this brother was a phenomenal advocate. And, they always try to gender neutral some of these statements when it comes to Black males, because if he was a Black female advocate, they'd have been adamant about stating so. But he is a huge advocate for Black boys. I'm probably one of the most foremost as far as education is concerned. His Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys series was phenomenal over the years. I had the pleasure of meeting him once in person. I was invited to Chicago to give a lecture at the DuSable Museum, and they didn't tell me anything about how it was going to be structured, and I ended up on a panel with him, and I gave a talk. And I think at that point I talked about the significance of the 1970s, and it to have him on the panel, observing me and then pulling me aside afterwards and shaking my hand and telling me how much he enjoyed, that was huge. That was huge because, he's a luminary to me. So I was honored to meet him, and I was so sad to hear that the brother had passed. So I just wanted to acknowledge him, and for anybody that may have missed it, because sometimes when these elders pass, we don't always, catch it. It's not always, hit up in the news, in any significant way. But this was a towering, as it says, figure in Black education, empowerment, and advocacy, but especially in regard to his work on Black boys. And let me tell you how specific this brother was. He could tell you, and I've seen him do it, he could break down to you what the proper temperature in the classroom should be for Black boys. This is how specific his work had gotten. That's how specific he got. He could talk about the structure, he could talk about the curriculum, he could talk about the pedagogy, he could talk about the teachers and who should be teaching what, but he could even tell you what temperature the room needed to be for him to for Black male students to learn best. So I just wanted to shout him out. Shout out to Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. Rest in power. You're appreciated. Your work is incredible, and you deserve the respect that you've gotten, and you're going to get more of that from me. So I hope you all will join me in kind of tipping your hat to the brother. And if you got any drinks around you, take a sip for the good brother. Now another piece of house business we need to cover. And I'm not going to take long with this because I want you to be able to read through it yourself. But a couple weeks ago, we made a change to the Black male political agenda. I just wanted to briefly announce, and I'm going to put the link in the chat, for those who want to kind of take your time and explore it a little bit. But we added another point. We added another point to the Black male political agenda. It is no longer the 18-point agenda. It is now the 19-point Black male political agenda. And this is an update made on May 4th. Right? So if you see the streamlined list, go down to number 19 and you can see what we've added. So this is the GI Bill Reparations edition. Right? I'm not going to read through all of this because I want to make sure I don't take up too much of my guest's time, but I just wanted to kind of remark to you that this was extended by the good brother Marshall. This is a breakdown he did of some of the historical data, but in it's basically we're advocating for those Black men who did not receive the GI Bill, that they be compensated, their families be compensated for what they weren't given during World War II. So this is the 19th point of the black male political agenda, that should be rectified. And although I am an advocate for reparations in general, I do think there needs to be a specific reparations to the families of those black men who fought in World War II. And so there's some, data there that you can go through. I'm not, like I said, I'm going to, out of respect to my guest, I'm not going to spend this evening going through this. This is obviously something you can go through yourself. If you have any other comments, reflections, or anything else you want to add about this, feel free to do so. But I just wanted to alert you that that's been the latest edition. So you can go to the 19-point Black Male Political Agenda, look at the 19th point, and give your comments on that. You can send them right here to the comment section of YouTube. Of course, you can email them to me, or you can actually comment right there on the page itself. Right? So you can comment there as well. So I appreciate that. But like, share, subscribe, join, and donate, support the channel. We can continue to bring you this independent black male thought. You can do so by supporting on Patreon, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or right here on YouTube by hitting the Cash App and doing it that way as well. And of course, if you do it on Patreon, you can also be a supporter of the Institute for Black Male Studies and the Onyx Report right here on YouTube. Now, this week, I plan to do the film reviews that I do monthly on Patreon. And one of the films, it's been requested that I do a film that actually BGS introduced me to, called The Old Settler. I'll be doing that Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Pacific. And it stars Phylicia Rashad and her sister, whose name escapes me at the moment, but the dancer, everybody knows who she is. It's actually a brilliant film. It's kind of a TV movie, but it actually covers some very brilliant kind of stuff that we need to talk about. So we will be doing that, and I will pick the other film that I'll probably do Friday. Probably something a little newer. So I'll let y'all know as I get closer to that. But Wednesday night, we're going to do The Old Settler. And it is a very interesting film, especially when it comes to age gap dating, younger black men, older black women. And we'll talk about what the film actually has to say about age gap dating. And even though it is a black woman led cast, Debbie Allen. Thank you, Ghetto User. It just hit me right when I was glancing at the screen. I saw you wrote it. Yeah. So Phylicia Rashad and Debbie Allen. So even though it has a strong black female led cast in terms of them being the most, well-known actresses in the film, it doesn't actually say what you think it might say. There's some red pill content to that. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we get closer to it. But without further ado, and all due respect to my guest, whose time is incredibly tight, the brother's got a million things going on, so I want to respect that. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but I will say this is actually the first person that introduced me to the space. The blog that you see the 19-point Black Male Political Agenda on, I had just written, I want to say my first piece, trying to figure out how to advocate for black men. And the first piece I wrote was actually on the passing of Heavy D. There's something about Heavy D's passing that hit me. And I wanted to say something about him and about black men. What's up, Dr. Dunbar? How you doing? And so I wrote that piece, and I wrote a few more, and I was getting into the groove of it. And all of a sudden, this brother named Mumia Obsidian Ali hit me up, and he invited me to go to his channel. Ooh, this had to be 2018. It had to be somewhere, if not 17. But I went to his channel. He actually invited me up, and I met BGS, I met Angry Man, I met everybody. I met Alan Roger Curry, all because everybody would come to his channel and chop it up on a regular basis. So he was my introduction to this space. And he's obviously one of the founders, particularly of Manosphere 2.0, I believe. But I'm going to let the brother introduce himself, and I want to welcome him back to the Onyx Report. What's good with you? Okay, I can't hear you. So we got to make sure.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
My apologies. I forgot to adjust the volume on my mixing board here. Hello, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, man. How you doing?
I've been doing great, man. I've been doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. I've been wanting to see you on camera since. I'm glad you finally did it. The thing about you that was interesting is most brothers who never showed their faces, they may have had their reasons, but you always had pictures out, so we knew what you looked like. But we were waiting for you to get on camera, so I am so glad you were finally on camera. It's good to see the brother there, You know, I want to see that cane come out.
Yeah, I have several here. This is one right here that I had specially commissioned. This
Oh,
was
that's
of our
solid.
own design.
Oh,
I
that's
call it
solid.
Gentleman Jack.
Uh-huh.
And this is actually specially designed, so I can tell you some features about it. This is made of hickory.
Uh-huh.
Hickory is one of America's hardest naturally occurring hardwoods, but it's not just regular hickory. This is actually 5 thin layers. I was inspired by Japanese katana making.
Yeah.
And swordsmiths will take the steel and fold it over and over and over again. So I was inspired by that. So what I had my cane master do is take thin strips of hickory and then bond them together in a special laminating process. Nice. The average heavy duty cane for medical use is rated for about 350 pounds. This is rated for over 1,000 pounds of load.
Nice.
As a result. Nice. There's also a sword edge right here that you know compresses all of the kinetic force of a strike all into a small area, resulting in more pain. It also results in broken bones.
I was going to
say
right
here, this edge of it, this side of it has grips, natural grips that I can use. This handle is based on a Derby gentleman's cane handle, but I enlarged it for self-defense purposes. This part right here is a chisel that can be used for striking. This part right here could be used for striking in the neck area. This right here is a regular type of hook, which can also is widened. The mouth of the hook is widened to facilitate more grabbing and grappling moves. So this right here, this cane right here cost me about $400 to have made.
I bet.
And it's made per my own specifications. So there's that.
And because it's wood, I doubt they don't mess with you when you go through like to the airport or any of that.
It's wood. And I made sure that this wood is on par with a metal cane because of the special laminating process of hickory. So this will guarantee to all I need is just to land one hit, and that's it.
Look, man, for anybody who may be unfamiliar, this may be their first time, even watching my show and catching you, please introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Mumia Obsidian Ali. I am a hero to some and a victim and a villain to others, as I often say. I'm one of the founding fathers of the Black Manosphere online circa 2015. I, along with Angry Man and O'Shea Duke Jackson. Since then, I've become one of the founding fathers of what has become known as the Black Manosphere Conclave, an annual gathering of Black men from around the world, united in the pursuit of excellence in all things. We have been operating for 5 years. This is our 5th continuous year of operation. We're going to be gathering again this year in Miami. September 5th through the 7th at the Miami Convention Center, hosted by the Hyatt Regency Luxury 4-star Hotel. All of our information is on our website, www.blackmanosphere.com. You can get tickets and info. We're hoping that all the brothers that are watching right now will join us. Let me give you just some quick statistics on the conclave, and I'll continue on with my spiel. Since we got started in 2021, we've had 700 brothers go through our STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math. Theo Waff heads that up. We call it Theo University. We've had 700 brothers go through the program. Over 200 are highly certified in diversified fields within the STEM field. We have a higher job placement rate than many universities that specialize in engineering in the country. The average salary of a brother that comes out of our program is well into the 6 figures, and we have generated upwards of $10 million USD in salary since 2021.
Beautiful.
We've also had 5 brothers get married, Professor Hasan Johnson. Now we didn't set out to do this. We're not a matchmaking service, or we're not a dating coach agency, but we found that when men's life improves, women start to show up. And we've had 5 brothers since the conclave of 23. So in the past 2 years, we've had 5 brothers get married, all of them on the continent of Africa.
Nice. Nice. So you're building and you're growing. We'll do that toward the end. I want people to know how they can get involved. But today we kind of came together on Facebook on a given subject. Matter of fact, let me kind of pull this up, if you will. Hold on. I thought I'm having a little bit of a thing, so give me 1 second. Let me see here. Well, tell people where you are though and what you're doing now while I pull this up.
Yes, no worries at all. Yes, I'm over on Rumble these days. Lots of people have been asking me, will I come back to YouTube? I think me being right here right now answers that question. You'll see a lot more of me on YouTube in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. But I've planted my flag over on Rumble. I've been there now since early 2024. I host a daily show. It was talk radio based. I've transitioned over now to being on camera starting May 5th, 2025. I started on camera. I have an evening show, and you can see what the vibe is. I call it After Office Hours. We have special guests. I do come on in the daytime if I have special guests to accommodate their schedule. I had a really good conversation with a researcher, an evolutionary psychologist named Mads Larsen out of the University of Oslo over in Norway. We had a really good conversation last week. I'm in talks right now to have a conversation with a Swedish demographer named David Lorentzen. And man, he's doing really good research. I got to turn you on to his research, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, because there's been a lot of discussion about the passport bros. And there've been questions among the ladies, the lovely ladies, as my brother, my conclave brother Dennis Sperling Esquire would put it. The lovely ladies of the community over on TikTok have been inquiring as to what is going on with the passport bros. Have they found wives? Where are their wives? And so on. Well, Mr. David Lorentzen of Sweden. And by the way, are you aware of the fact, Professor, that the most feminist friendly countries on the planet by law and custom, this is policy, the most feminist friendly countries in the world, the top 5 are all Scandinavian. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Finland, Denmark. These are all the top most feminist countries in the world. The top 5 or the top 10, the top 5 are all Scandinavian. So Professor Larsen coming out of Norway, he's coming out of a feminist country by law and custom. And Mr. Lorentzen, excuse me, my apologies for that. All that music out there. People celebrating the holiday. Mr. Lorentzen coming out of Sweden, I believe he's coming out of Stockholm. He has documented all this inside of another feminist country. And one thing that I learned from Mr. Lorentzen and several brothers who have contacted me, some of whom who have spent time in Sweden, there is a very big passport bro movement in Sweden. In Stockholm, which is the capital city of Sweden, there are some 50,000 Thai nationals who have moved to Sweden, and of that number, over 70% of them are female. Mr. Lorentzen's work has shown that the migration from the east to the west is almost all female, and that's coming from brothers who are passport brothers around the world who have decided that they want none of the Western female. We can go into reasons for that. They don't want that. They want a more traditional woman. They want a more conservative woman. They want a woman that's more in line with a man's program. And therefore, our Swedish brothers have availed themselves of destinations like Thailand and have found ladies that are amenable to them. They brought them back to Sweden, and they've gotten married and had families. As a matter of fact, Mr. Lorentzen's work shows that Sweden is about to change. The Nordic featured blonde hair and blue eye, that come this time next century, that will be no more. And the reason why is because Swedish men have decided to make families with Thai and other Asian women. They are literally replacing the Swedish woman on an industrial scale. So the idea, and I just got finished telling you that the brothers, over 80% of conclave brothers are active passport holders. Like I said, 5 brothers have come out of the conclave in 2 years, all married to black women on the African continent, from Morocco to South Africa. So what we're seeing here, what this data is showing, and I want the ladies who have been asking what's going on with the passport bros, have they been getting wives? The answer is yes. And when I bring on Mr. Lorenzen to talk about this over on my live show, we're going to break down the numbers and show you that, yes, you will be replaced, Western woman. We will replace you. We will go and get women from other areas of the world who will be amenable to our program, and you will be replaced on an industrial scale.
But this is happening all over the world, and I'm actually surprised, that they're trying to. Well, I'm surprised they're burying it to the degree they have been, because I've had brothers reach out to me from China, from Korea, from at least 4 different countries in Africa, from South Africa all the way to Northern Africa. You have demographics of men who are frustrated with the women in their local area, and they have identified another demographic of women in another country that they've decided to engage with, and have begun to do so in earnest and on a consistent basis. So this is happening in America, but it's also happening in a number of countries around the world. And people keep, I think, underestimating, what we're talking about. When black men, as an example, say that, we're tired of this and we don't want to deal with Western women in a very particular way, we want to engage women around the world. People, I think, really have no sense of how global this has become.
Passport Bros movement, and to be fair, so that we're clear, American black men regard our brothers from other mothers passport Joes. That's descriptive, not pejorative. When they say passport bros, they mean black American men. So with regard to the worldwide passport bro movement, I'll just use that phrase for simplicity. Yes, they have been maligned in the media, mainstream media. CNN, I believe, did a recent hatchet job on the manosphere, on the red pillars, and on the passport bros movement. I think there was another, I think it was Vice Media. They did a hatchet job. But demographers, serious demographers, like David Lorenzen, serious researchers like Mads Larson, serious researchers like William Costello out of the UK, studying at the University of Texas at Austin under the great David M. Buss, evolutionary psychologist, towering figure in the discipline. These serious researchers come through with the actual evidence, the data, and the statistics. And many people I found, Professor Johnson, that speak on these matters, they are unlearned. They don't know what they're talking about. They're ignorant. They haven't read any books. They haven't talked to any researchers. They haven't read any studies. All they're doing is watching TikTok videos and Instagram reels and think they know what they're talking about. And that is the reason why what you're doing, Professor, what I'm doing, and the brothers in the Black Manosphere ranks, and our brothers from other mothers worldwide, what we're doing is so important. This is our own media. Brothers out there, please support this brother, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. He's taking a huge risk to do what he does. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because he is an academic in the gynocratic academic system. Everybody has seen now. Everybody's seen what is going on the campus of UCLA, the campus of Columbia University, the campus of MIT, the campus of Harvard. Everybody sees it. And black men like this brother right here is taking a stand, and he needs your support, your financial support. We do not want our brothers like Dr. T. Hasan Johnson dependent upon the state for him to speak up and advocate for on our behalf. Please support this brother. Support him with your dollars. Support him with your clicks and views. Share the word. Support brothers like Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. It's hugely important because we got to get the word out. The mainstream media is against us, against men in general, black men especially. They are not. They have a vested interest in making sure that the facts and the data and the statistics do not get out. And this is the reason why what we're doing is so very important. We got to get the truth out.
And it's interesting to see how fast it's getting out regardless of mainstream support. So even though, these discussions are projected a certain way in the mainstream, what's happening on the ground, boots on the ground, very different.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now, Mr. Lorenzen's research, again, he's a demographer out of Sweden. He shows one of the reasons why these ladies don't see the passport bros. One reason why is because worldwide, passport bros don't live in liberal cities. They live in the interior. The liberal cities tend to be the coastal cities. So here in the United States, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and so on. Well, in the United States, to just simplify this, your more traditional and conservative people tend to live in the interior of the country. It's the same thing in Sweden, and it's the same thing in other areas around the world. Many of the passport brothers, they get ladies and they go to the more traditional, sometimes rural areas of the country where the types of work and business that these brothers are interested in are more along the lines of manufacturing, fabrication, science, technology, engineering, and math, and so on. The lovely ladies, they move to the coastal cities where their major employers are big daddy government, healthcare, education, and services. These are also places where the number of men, especially the kind of sexy men that they want, are very small. We see this on dating apps. And they try to lock down these sexy men by offering themselves sexually for little enough for a bag of Skittles. And then, of course, they get pumped and dumped. And then they get regretful, cynical, bitter, jaded, mad. Now, all men, or as they say in the parlance, black men ain't, and you can fill in the blank.
Right.
The reality is that the 80-20 rule is real. We have science that backs it up. Everything that the Black manosphere has been saying now for at least a decade has now been proven and validated by reputable researchers at the academic level. Every one of our talking points, gentlemen, scientifically proven. It is a scientific fact. 80-20 rule, pump and dump, alpha fucks, beta bucks, dual mating strategy, cleanup man, everything you can think of, scientific fact.
Let me just, out of curiosity, before I get into the kind of core of what brought us together tonight, what have you noticed about the development of the passport bro movement since you first heard about it? What's changed in that time period to now, from what you see, from what brothers approach you and talk about? How has it grown? The
manosphere has grown tremendously. Just in, I've been doing this for 10 years now. Of course, you can see the change in me. I'm on camera. When I pretty much the past 10 years, I've only gotten on camera now in the 10th year. So that alone is emblematic of the change. But the manosphere has moved from a fringe element on social media now to the White House. Donald J. Trump is the manosphere president. That's not my opinion. This is the opinion of a gentleman who he too is a professor. Professor Scott Galloway, you might have heard of him. He's from the New York University Stern School of Business. He teaches marketing there, and he's been doing it now for about 20 years. He has made a name for himself because he has inserted himself into the masculine dialogue, if you will. He has issues with the manosphere. He accuses us of being misogynists, and he has a particular issue with Andrew Tate, our brother. But I would say, he said on election night, reviewing the election results of 2024, in conversation with Mr. Anderson Cooper on CNN, you can look this up independently for yourself, he said that it was the manosphere election. Remember, the proposition was that Ms. Kamala Harris, standard bearer and apostle of the Democrat Party, they was going to be running on a platform of my body, my choice, of bodily autonomy, of reproductive rights, and so on. Nobody saw the tsunami of the manosphere coming. 25% of black men voted for Trump. Over 70% of Hispanic men voted for Trump. Virtually damn near all white men voted for Trump. It was unexpected, unprecedented. Trump swept all 7 swing states. Clean sweep, 7 all. And Professor Galloway made the point that figures like Mr. Elon Musk, figures like Mr. Donald J. Trump, and others provide a vision of aspirational masculinity. act can-do spirit, a take the bull by the horn spirit. That's the spirit that we imbibe at the Black Manosphere Conclave. That's what we are about. And we make it very clear to the ladies. They are welcome to join us, but they must show up in appropriate manner. Just as we show up in the appropriate manner, they also must show up in the appropriate manner. And they know what it is because our brother, the dearly departed good friend, St. Kevin Samuels, laid it out. Fit, feminine, and friendly, and smile. If you are not prepared to do that, ladies, there are ladies around the world who will do it.
Do me a favor, explain how, because one of the things I noticed when you have various types of movements politically, they may identify solely with one party or another. But one of the things I've noticed about the manosphere, the Black manosphere, is I've seen brothers with ideologies that range from heavy conservative to revolutionary nationalist. But when it comes to the talking points, when it comes to the issues facing Black men, they will identify with the manosphere. Usually when you see social movements or any kind of particular movements, you don't quite see it that way. But I don't think I've run across very many movements where Black men in particular, across ideology, will still identify with the manosphere despite their politics. Can you explain how the manosphere is able to do that and other movements haven't been able to?
Yes, it's very simple. Men are very simple creatures. Steve Harvey said that, and he's right. Men are very simple creatures. One of the reasons why there's so much difficulty is because the gynocratic society, and I've just mentioned there are feminist countries in the world. They have attempted to try to put a foothold in this country. We fought back against that in elections last year. Because they are so convoluted. Matter of fact, we're both Gen Xers. There was a film that came out in the, I want to say early 1990s. It was called RoboCop 2. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, of course.
There was RoboCop was the sequel to the original RoboCop, and in this iteration,
I'll buy that for $1.
Exactly. Matter of fact, I even have that right here.
I'd buy that for $1.
Exactly. So there's a scene in the film where RoboCop is being reprogrammed.
Yeah,
and he's being reprogrammed by a female psychologist. And she tampers with his original programming. His original programming, he only had 3 directives.
Yeah.
Okay. Protect the innocent, serve the public trust, and uphold the law. She changed that and put about 300 directives in there, confused the hell out of him. He said, you know what? This is insane. He went and fried his brain to reset the system. Yeah. Because this woman had all this crap in it. Men are like the original RoboCop. We have about maybe 3 directives. That's it. Women, on the other hand, have about 300. And you see how that turned out. Men are very, very simple. So whether you are a card-carrying Republican or Democrat or independent, here's what we found, Professor T. Hasan Johnson. We found at the Black Manosphere Conclave that brothers are small c conservative. Now, what do I mean by small c?
Okay.
That means that they're not necessarily a Republican, but they do believe that family looks like mother, father, sister, brother. That's what they believe family looks like. No disrespect to anyone else. We're not against other people living as they see fit. If you're a man and you want to be with another man, that's fine. If you're a woman and you want to be with another woman, that's fine. Where we have an issue, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, and where the rank and file Black man has an issue, is when you want to take what you choose to do in the privacy of your home, and now you want to impose it onto everyone else. That's the problem. It's one thing to do what you do on your own, nobody bother you, fine. It's something else now to take that into the public square and impose it on everybody else. With the bathrooms, with the pride stuff, with Chick-fil-A, they say you got to serve the gay cake and all the rest of it. That's the issue. Black men are small c conservatives. You ask a Black man, say, listen, man, do you think that you should have a right to defend yourself, your loved ones, and your property? They're going to say yes. They're in favor of the Second Amendment. Say, yo, man, do you think that you should keep more of the money that you make? They're going to say yes. They're going to be in favor of lower taxes. And so, do you think that the man should be the head of the household, and that he should, and that the wife should get on board with that, and that she should keep the children in line, and that makes for a better community, a better family, a better society? Most black men are going to say yes to that. So they're small C conservatives, and we understand that, and we support that, and we foster that.
So even if they're debating over political issues, when it comes to, particularly when you start talking about family, or dating and mating dynamics, you find that black men actually share quite a bit.
Correct.
In terms of outlook, worldview, and belief. Absolutely. Now, this is what brought us together tonight. Enlarge this a little bit. I was on Facebook and I posted this, and Obsidian was kind enough to join in the discussion. Now, many of you here on YouTube who saw it in my community tab saw I posted it there as well. And this is based on an article that came out a few days ago focusing on Janet Jackson having difficulty selling for her latest Las Vegas concert. She was about, she needed another 60%. Oh, here it goes. Yeah, so it says Janet Jackson is struggling to sell tickets to her Vegas residency, and about 60% of seats are still available for Wednesday night's premiere performance, the U.S. Sun can confirm. And so one of the things I pointed out, I said most of Trump's DEI government job pushback practices have adversely impacted women. Black women alone lost 304,000 jobs since February. Everybody's talking about the 106,000 in April, but it's actually about 304,000 since February. Such impacts all endeavors predicated on catering to Black women. Now, it was pointed out to me in the comment section. I don't know if the brother wants me to put his name out, so I won't mention it until I hear from him. But he pointed out that, there are always going to be black men that are going to go out their way to finance these women's interests when it comes to different things. So, that is on the table. But this 304,000 jobs is pretty significant. Now, I wanted to get Obsidian to weigh in because he said he had some thoughts about this, and I wanted to kind of get his thoughts about it. So I just wanted to put that up. And if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and tell us your thoughts about this.
Yes, Dr. Johnson. I didn't know this when I ran across, because I follow you on Facebook, and I enjoy watching your updates and your discussions. I couldn't resist joining in on this one. I was given to understand originally that last month with the April 2025 jobs report, that Black women had taken a net loss of 160,000 jobs. That was what I was led to understand. Mm-hmm. When I read your post the other day and it showed over 300,000, I was taken aback. I said, wait a minute, is that, and I know you don't say things that you can't substantiate, but I just went and did my due diligence anyway, just to be on the safe side. I said, oh, wow, that's true. Since February, if you total it all up to present, over 300,000 jobs in the federal sector impacting Black women. And I think it's long overdue. We have been saying here in the Black manosphere ranks that a major factor in the breakdown of the Black family has been intense meddling on the part of the welfare state. And when people hear that phrase, they think EBT, food stamps, Section 8, and it does, but it also means giving these women these jobs and all the rest of it, which is essentially make work, basically. Giving them the jobs, bloating the government, and inflating things, giving these ladies these long-term loans that they don't have to pay back for decades. Trump went and rolled those back. He's calling in those loans now. The average educated Black woman owes nearly $40,000 in college debt that she hasn't been paying for years and years and years, been a deadbeat. If they called that in, this is going to level set things in the Black community. As a matter of fact, speaking of the passport bros, now you hear these ladies. So I just saw a video the other day of a young lady sitting in her car on TikTok, and she's saying that she's waving the white flag and she's ready to talk now. And I was thinking to myself, is she one of those 300 and some thousand sisters that just lost her job? You see? So there's going to be some level setting here. I think it's long overdue. The Black man has been undercut in the mating market, the rank and file Black man. We're not talking about the brothers that are earning 6 and 7 and 8 figures. Not talking about them. We're talking about the brother who makes 50,000, the brother that makes 60,000, the brother that makes 75 or 80,000, the brother that makes maybe about 90,000. He has been severely undercut by the welfare state, because the ladies basically can get their needs met by the state, and then they can go and get really sexy guys that they have sex with, try to rope them into a relationship. It don't work. If she have the baby, that's okay, because Big Daddy government will pay for it. That has undercut the rank and file black man. This is the reason why you see the passport bros movement growing, and is growing largest among the brothers that are in the 50 to say $95,000 a year range, because they and the ladies even talk about this, Professor Johnson. They say things like, you guys are just going over there to get cheap sex, or they'll say, you guys are just going over there because it's cheaper. It's always a money issue. And I have a conclave brother by the name of Chris Hutchinson, former Air Force, aim high, Wayne State University graduate, and also a STEM professional who also has extensive real estate holdings. He kind of crunches the numbers for us. And he has found in his research, Professor Johnson, that every time a brother files a DS-11 form with the United States State Department to get a passport application, a black woman somewhere in Black America takes a $30,000 a year hit.
Wow.
Okay. This is before what we're talking about now happened. He did those figures like 2024. So you can imagine what's going on now. And you can see on TikTok, these ladies waving the white flag.
Well, let's add a few things to this discussion as well in terms of what's going on. And the reason I do this, because I've been talking about this, especially since the beginning of this year. What I'm noticing is what I'm considering the fall of the gynocracy. It's essentially how I've been phrasing this. And we've been seeing it in epic fashion, but there are a few other twists to add to this. So let me hold on. Okay. Now this one kind of slipped by me until very recently, and I thought you might find it interesting if you hadn't seen it already. Goldman Sachs removes the word black from diversity programs as Trump continues to pressure companies to end DEI. Now, what y'all know about this one, this is the $10 billion investment that Goldman Sachs was making in terms of, helping black women access the labor market. And this has been in conversation for at least the last 5 years. We've talked about it on this channel, and we even pointed out the black women that worked at Goldman Sachs that created this, and we see this in a lot of corporate spaces, especially over the years. They'll actually create spaces solely for black women in these companies, and they'll use data that's very slanted to feminists to rationalize it, and so they'll create these kinds of programs. So outside of the fact that we see over 304,000 government jobs lost, outside of the fact that we're seeing the pushback on DEI across the board, outside of the fact that we're seeing the grants that have, for decades now, I've known black women that have been able to set up nonprofits left and right and use grant funds that are specific on race and gender grounds, specifically for programs for black girls and women. We're seeing all of that being pushed back against. We're also seeing as of May 5th, the push for school loan repayment. We know that there was kind of a hiatus since 2020 on that for some people, but that's been put back in effect. And as a matter of fact, there are some discussions still going on that Trump is looking at key demographics where he may reinstate loans that were forgiven several years ago, based on very key factors, particularly in the nonprofit area. So it's not across the board, but these are the kind of discussions going on. And overwhelmingly, these policies impact liberal white women, overwhelmingly. But I would say a significant demographic that's also impacted are black women, right? So this Goldman Sachs pushback, this shift from black to, actually, they're just removing the term. So we know it's now not limited to black women. These are just some of the things that are impacting. And I have a couple more, but I want to get your thoughts just on this so far. What comes to mind when you see this kind of report?
Well, this is more evidence of the manosphere president doing what he's supposed to do. He's making good on his promises. The left is right to be scared because Donald Trump is known to be a man of his word. I mean, he doesn't welch on much. And DEI has really destroyed the country, and has done a major. I mean, the whole left project, all of it, has really done a hatchet job on the black family. You know this, Professor Johnson, that for much of the 20th century, and our brother, Congressman Byron Donalds, was savaged for saying this right here in my home city, Philadelphia. He was viciously attacked by the left for merely just saying the truth out loud, that for much of the 20th century, the black family was intact. It was only after the mid 1960s and going into the 1970s with these leftist policies, the welfare state, etc., so forth, that the black family began to fall apart. The Ku Klux Klan, Jim Crow, Bull Connor, George Wallace, etc., could not break up the black family, but the welfare state did it. Everybody knows that. So why attack Byron Donalds? And I'm glad that Trump is pressuring Goldman Sachs and other major businesses and commerce leaders to get rid of this stuff and get rid of that crap. And what Goldman Sachs needs to do is need to take it a step further. They don't need to be funding the black women. Kamala Harris was right about one thing. In the 11th hour of her campaign, in a desperate Hail Mary bid to reach out to black male voters, she said the following on the Charlemagne the God program she was hosting that night. She said that black men's major hurdle in business was access to capital. What Donald Trump should do next, after Goldman Sachs gets rid of the DEI program, they need to divert those funds from black women to black male-headed businesses. Why? Because when black men are successful in business, what do? They get married. They get a lady friend. They have someone that they support. Supporting the black man means supporting the black family. That's what it means. When you support a black woman, she just supports herself. If she goes and does nonsense, like going over there to Jamaica, one of the biggest worldwide sex tourism destinations in the history of humanity. They go over there, they get their behind rubbed on a raft in a dirty river somewhere. You give that same money to a black man, he builds up a business, gets married, has children, raises a family, and contributes to the tax base. So as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump needs to go even further. President Trump needs to go even further. And after he gets finished pressuring them on the DEI front, then he needs to pressure them to divert those funds to support black men in business.
Okay. Let me pull this down. Okay. Last piece I'll add for discussion. I just found this out before I hit live today, that apparently Klarna, you familiar with Klarna? The program where you can break payments up into, they're doing this with everything from purchases online to fast food now, DoorDash. Klarna allows you to break something up into 4 payments. You can purchase something.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Klarna. Okay. Yeah. So, the whole thing where you pay down and you pay a payment here and a payment there. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So if you buy something for $1,000, you can make 4 payments of $250 over a certain amount of time and so on and so forth. And there are a number of other programs like that. But apparently Klarna just took $136 million hit, altogether. So there's questions about whether or not they're going into bankruptcy, but they just took $136 million hit. And then there are other reports suggesting that 41% of buy now, pay later consumers have already missed a payment. So we're moving into an area, and I'm listing this along with the other things I mentioned in regard to what's going on with black women. When you see these things stack up and add up, you're starting to see what kinds of tensions and pressures that are starting to apply. Now, I think one of the areas that I think many of your followers, your listeners, subscribers, I think one of the things they listen to you to hear about is how will these types of pressures impact what the everyday man goes through? Some people call it the reach back. Some people call it the, I forget, there was a term earlier than that as far as, the hey big head texts. What are the kinds of pressures everyday men need to be aware of in a climate like this from your vantage point?
Well, I mean, obviously, the situation is going to impact the ladies a lot more than the men, generally speaking. And then bringing it to Black America, black women, on average, black women carry a lot more debt than black men do. Black men tend to live more, comparatively speaking, live more frugally. And so most black men are not going to be caught up in all this Klarna and Affirm and firm pay and all that sort of thing, because most black men, and I'm not saying this is true for all black men, and I'm not saying that you don't have, financial hiccups here and there. I'm saying generally, overall, Black men understand that you got to pay what you weigh. And if you can't afford it, then you don't buy it. That's how I do in my own life. If I can't afford a particular item, a suit or a computer or a microphone, if I can't afford the car, excuse me, if I can't afford to buy it, I just don't buy it outright. I don't mess around with layaway, or you can buy it down on credit today. No, if I don't have the money in my pocket to buy it right then and there, screw it.
That's right.
I don't buy it. And that's how a lot of black men do.
Yeah.
A lot of black men operate like that. If they ain't got the money on hand, cash on hand right then and there, they say screw it. And that's the reason why we don't have as much debt problems as black women do. Yeah. Black men are the natural auditor of black women. Because black women know you living up underneath a man. You can't just be buying all these dresses and all you got to have your hair did and you got to go and get the mani-pedi every week. Black men ain't going for that. You might be able to do that maybe once a month, and that's it to stay within the budget. Black women understand that. That's the reason why they want white zaddy government to bail them out and give them money to buy all this nonsense. They know if they got to live under the household of a black man, they can't be doing that frivolous spending and all the rest of it. They don't understand that. That's the reason they're trying to get out from under the black man, because the black man understands that if you cannot afford it, you shouldn't be buying it.
I remember you used to talk about this years ago. Matter of fact, you made me laugh years ago when you used to talk about the difference in how black men and women take vacations. You used to talk about how they would take trips that they couldn't afford, but black men would sit in their house for a week playing video games and go back to work.
Correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's 100% correct.
A larger view on money and debt and understanding the impact of that. You know.
That's correct. Yeah. Just like, to be fair, women are a natural backstop on men's more baser impulses. It's the same thing is true in reverse. Men are a natural backstop on women's baser impulses. No disrespect to the LGBT people, but the truth just has to be told. If you look at the lesbian couples, you can clearly see that they don't pay attention to keeping their waistline under control as much as with the straight couples. Why? Because no respecting man is going to go for his woman getting out of control and getting too big there. He's going to, at some point, he's going to make some inquiries. Or they listen. Do we need to get you some salads here? Do we need to get you a treadmill? Do I need to take you out walking? What's going on here? If you look at the lesbian situation, you look for yourself. These ladies are rather rotund. That is an example of what I'm talking about. Men are the natural backstop of women's more baser instincts. And the same thing is true on the other side. Women are the natural backstop on men's baser instincts. And everything has gotten completely out of whack because the left does not believe that there's a such thing. They can't even tell you what a woman is, Professor Johnson. They had the sister Ketanji, now she's Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Jackson. They asked her in the Senate, can you tell me what a woman is? That woman that went to Harvard University and got a law degree, she could not answer the question.
Right.
She couldn't do it. Yep. She could not answer what is a woman. That is where we are with this.
Yeah.
That you can't answer a basic question, and they believe that there's no difference between male and female. Going in, the man think he a woman, going in the woman bathroom and all this nonsense. That is where we are with this. And we understand, the brothers in the black manosphere understand, there are differences between male and female, and that's a good thing. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me just go ahead and put that up. So now, to those who are just running into some of these talking points, most particularly in regard to passport bros, for black men in particular who, say, for example, can't afford to travel. We know that, relatively speaking, there's a small percentage of people across the board, but especially black folk that have a passport. So for those black men who can't afford to necessarily travel in a typical way that passport bros do, what are you noticing that they are doing in response to the dating and mating market? What are you seeing?
They're dropping out. They're going MGTOW, if you will. They're just dropping out. Because, and this is going to sound controversial, so I have to be very careful, because I know on YouTube I don't want to get you in trouble, so I have to word this carefully. So the research of Professor Mads Larsen, University of Oslo, he found that in societies where women are, he even used the word free women, women are truly free, they will avail themselves of the 20% of men that they deem attractive. And they will spend an evening. I'm trying to be very diplomatic. They will spend an evening with such men. But see, the problem is this, and you probably noticed this. There's been a lot of discussion about body count and so on and so forth. And I'm here to tell those folks who are upset about this, the black women and their surrogates and, you know, black love gurus and so forth. Listen, you are barking up the wrong tree. You are dealing with evolutionary biology. The man, when it comes to a long-term mate, has much higher standards. A man is right to not want to mate with a woman who has had too many rides on the carousel. I'm not going to use the other word. You know where I'm going with this. I don't want to use this on your show, but you know what I mean when I say carousel. When they've had too many rides on the carousel, a man is right to not want to mate with her long term, not short term, long term. So we're talking marriage, we're talking long term, publicly acknowledged relationship where everybody knows you're together. Men have a natural aversion to women who have been on the carousel one too many times. And there is nothing that black women or their surrogates can do about that, because that's evolutionary biology. A man that gets with a woman like that is basically risking his evolutionary line. Why? Because if he does that and she encounters a man that's got bedroom eyes and he looking like Chris Brown, I gotta like to go over there, and she might get pregnant by him, have his child, try to pass it off as yours, then come to find out 10 years later you're on paternity court or you are married and you are not the father. So nature has fixed it to where men, rightly, when it comes to long-term mating, don't want to get with a woman that's thirst trapping. Have rightly said, I don't want to get with a woman that's doing OnlyFans. That's rightly is out here living her best life. They don't want to do that. So to the brothers that, for whatever reason, are not able to avail themselves of the passport bros lifestyle, we understand that. Those brothers just drop out. They just say, screw it. Like you said earlier, they can't afford to go on a vacation. They just stay home and get a 6-pack of beer and play video games. They do the same thing here. So, okay, I don't have the means to do like my brothers do. They got the passport. They go over here. They go over there. I can't do that. So you know what I'm doing? Screw it. I'm just going to stay home. I'm just dropping out. You look at these videos, they're all over YouTube now. You got men making these channels documenting all of these events that they have, these social events where men and women get together. The men don't even bother showing up anymore. The women stuck there talking about where the men have all gone. I tell you where they are. They don't want to wife up women who have been on the carousel. How many times do men need to say this, Professor Johnson? We do not want to wife up carousel riders. We don't. And we're right not to want to do that. We don't want to take a risk on our evolutionary line coming to a dead end because you couldn't help yourself and got with the Chris Brown type guy and got pregnant with him and tried to pass him off as our kid. We don't want to do that.
Yeah. This was something I shared with you almost a decade ago. It was at the time, it was a very innocent, naive observation on my part. And it was something that I hadn't noticed. But in my social network, out of about 30 educated brothers that I knew, and this is something I didn't observe, and I told you this when we not long after we met. When my wife had passed, I started actually paying attention to my social network, my friends, my associates, so on and so forth. And what I noticed is out of 30 of them, there was one that was married to an African-American woman. There were two that had basically gone MGTOW, even though they didn't know that terminology. They had just checked out. But all the rest, and I'm sorry, out of that, I think there was only two that were with Caucasian women, but all the rest had found women from other countries here in the United States. And at the time, I really didn't know what the significance of that was. I was a little caught off guard because I'd known these men for years and I'd met their ladies. but I hadn't really made sense of how that many of them made the same decision, you know, in a manner where I wasn't in on the discussion, if there even was one. Now we know, you know, what that's about, but, you know, 10 years ago, I didn't know how to make sense of that. So what I'm noticing is you do have the MGTOW, you do have the going monk mode, but you also have men that were basically looking to do some type of passport bro framework in the United States even. So they were looking for women from other countries who were raised in other cultures and had a whole different outlook in regard to masculinity, marriage, the gender roles and relationships. Can you speak about that? Is that still happening, or do you think it's kind of died down and people have just gone overseas? But what is your perspective on
Oh, it's
that
ramped
kind of-
up. It's ramped up. And like I said, I'm going to have on the demographer from Sweden, David Lorentzen, on the show. I'm hoping I can get him this week. Matter of fact, he just contacted me, so we're going to work it all out. I'm going to hope that we get him on this week. I had on Mads Larson last week. It's ramped up. It's ramped up tremendously. I don't have the specific numbers of black men passport bros in the country, but my sense of it, working with the conclave, like I said, over 80% of conclave brothers are active passport holders.
Yeah.
So my sense of it is that it's ramped up tremendously. And you can just look at the chatter on TikTok. A lot of black women like to use TikTok. You look at the chatter, they've got scores and scores and scores of videos of these ladies. Do you know that they even have taken, Professor Johnson, I don't know if you know this, black women have now taken to following passport brothers to Brazil, to Panama, to Colombia, to Africa.
Yeah.
They have actually started following them, surveilling them, find out where they're going and all the rest of it, arguing with them on the beach. I saw one video of a sister. She got into an argument with brothers on the beach. They were the brothers on the beach in Brazil. They're on the beach in Rio de Janeiro. They're having a good time with the ladies, you know, the local ladies there, and they dance and whatnot. Here come this sister out of nowhere, big back sister. She comes barreling in there, get into an argument. She get in between the lady and the brother there, and she's arguing with him. Why you got to come here and all the rest of it. This is what they're doing, Professor Johnson. So I think it's ramped up. I think it's ramped up significantly. Brothers are saving their money. Brothers are coming to the conclave. They're making more money. And as soon as they're able, they're out of here. They're gone. And the brothers that, for whatever reason, they're more of modest means, they just say, screw it and stay home and get some beer and look at the big screen television. I don't blame them, because this television set behind me that you see here, oh, man, this thing is great. It's a big 50-incher. And I tell you something, I get my rum and Coke right here, and I sit here at my desk when I'm not on the air, and I kick my feet up and watch that. Man, I can understand why brothers stay home and don't want to be bothered with these 304s. They say, screw it. I'd rather watch the TV set.
I'm hearing stories, and this was last year, where not only were black women from here following brothers to other countries, but they were pretending to be native to the countries they were in, like in Brazil or Spanish-speaking countries. You had some that were pretending to be native women to attract American black men from here. They were trying to attract us, pretending to be women there, native women there. So I found that completely interesting. Yes. But what I'm noticing here is I'm seeing brothers, you know, again, this goes back to the observation I mentioned from a decade ago. Haitian women, sometimes Caribbean women, Brazilian women that are here. Like, I'm seeing brothers do. I mean, I live in Fresno, California. This is Central Cali. So if you see a brother with a Latina, and here it's usually Mexican, it's not a shock by any means. Hell, last time I went to go see Sinners, when they turned the lights on at the end of the movie, it was the whole back half of the theater were brothers there with their Mexican girls. You know what I mean? So I'm seeing that this dynamic we're talking about is not only global, but it's bringing the global home for those that can't afford to actually leave the country. But it's happening on so many different levels at once. And one of the things I used to hear, even in its earliest days, black women say is, well, they just want white women. You know, but brothers have been going to South America and in Asia and all over Africa for years. So it's interesting to see how broad this is, despite the stereotypes being brought to it. Have you noticed that those kind of critiques being brought to bear?
Absolutely. You're in California. Matter of fact, you're in the same place that Professor Victor Davis Hanson is at. I'm a big fan of Victor Davis Hanson. He's been talking about this for a long time. His own family, he's of Swedish background, of Swedish extraction, Victor Davis Hanson, and his own family the men in his family have gotten with Mexican and Latina ladies in his own family, his nephews and so on and so forth. So yes, in areas of the country like California, Texas is a big black state, a lot of black people down there. You see a lot of brothers with the Latina ladies. This situation here, like I've been saying earlier, this situation here is worldwide, as you rightly pointed out. And there are brothers that said, listen, if the ladies of the community don't want to cooperate and they want to be on the carousel and they want to live their best life and go through their 304 phase and all the rest of it, they're free women, they can do that. I'm going to go over here to Maritza because Maritza is more conservative. She's a Catholic and she's not going to be doing all of that. And she's going to be amenable to get on my program. And that's exactly what you're seeing. You're going to a movie directed by a black man, featuring nothing but black people. You turn on the light, the brothers are sitting there with Latinas. What does that tell you?
Yeah. I'll tell you the other revelation I had, and I think I shared this with you not long after we met as well. I come out of Africana Studies. I went to Cal State Dominguez in Southern California for my undergrad. I went to Temple University for my master's. And those are your stomping grounds, Philly, But one of the things I noticed is when I started paying attention to my Africana Studies mentors and professors, and this was after, I didn't have this observation until after I met you. But when I started paying attention to their personal lives, their girlfriends, mostly wives because they were older, most of them were with international wives. And when I was able to get a beer into those professors and have a casual behind the wall conversation, they would tell me, because these would be men in their 60s, you know what I mean? And they would tell me, yeah, I was married to two sisters, over the years, and did the family court and paid, child custody and alimony. Now he has a wife from Nigeria, from Ghana, from South Africa, from Panama, from Brazil. And it was the weirdest thing. So when we talk about the conscious community, one of the things I noticed is that the conscious community, I've known brothers who've been doing that since the 1980s, but they never said anything about it. I just noticed they came back with these international wives. And when I finally was able to get honest conversation with them, it wasn't arbitrary. It wasn't out of a love for Pan-Africanism. And I think that's the cover that many have. They could talk to you about everything we're saying in these spaces about our experiences with American black women. They had those experiences going back to the 70s and 80s and were consciously making decisions to look for women from other countries, but didn't call themselves anything, didn't describe it in any open way. But at least within the field of Africana Studies, you saw a lot of these brothers walking around with wives that came from other countries. And I would argue that that was probably happening beyond Africana Studies in the conscious community. Can you speak to that? Is that something you observed?
Yes. The open secret in the black community is the pro-black brother. The pro-black brother knows what we're saying is true. Our brother, you spoke about Philadelphia, and you did your master's work studies here at in Philadelphia, Temple University in North Philly. There's another individual coming out of North Philly that's also an academic. One Dr. Umar Johnson. And what's interesting about Dr. Umar Johnson, our brother, and our brother Ace Metaphor, he's over in the next state over from me. I'm in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He's in Buckeye State. What's interesting about these brothers, Ace Metaphor, Dr. Umar Johnson, and others, they never say that the black manosphere is wrong. They never say that we're wrong. What they say is they don't like what we say about black women, but they never say that we're wrong.
Yes.
They never say, and there's a reason for it. Because if anybody knows the things that we're talking about is true, they know it. See, we work with men. I work with men. You work with men. We don't work with women. They have to work with women every day. They know what we're saying is true. But because those women handsomely pay them, handsomely compensate them, they don't say anything. Yeah. I had Ace Metaphor tell me to my face, Dr. Johnson. He said, this is a man that goes to the gym every day, okay? 7 days a week, he's at the gym, 1-2 hours a day, lifting heavy weights. He said to me in the fall of 2023, I got it on tape over on Rumble. He said to me, I am not going to discuss the weight issue with black women. He just flat out said he's not going to do it. Flat out. And he's not the only one. Paul Carrick Brunson is another one who told me a decade ago. I went to an event he had here in Philadelphia. You can look it up. The Hotel Monaco here in Philadelphia. He said directly to my face at 3 o'clock in the morning after the event was over, speed dating event that he hosted, and he invited me there. He said to my face, I am not going to talk about the weight issue with black women. He said, I've had several of these guys just flat out tell me they're not going to do it. Yet and still, these are brothers that are diligent about their appearance, their grooming, keeping themselves fit, because that's what black women want to see. But they say, I am not going to discuss that issue. I'm not going to do it. Dr. Dr. Umar Johnson knows what we're saying is true. He knows that the black manosphere is telling the truth, but he can't come out and say it, because if he does, he will lose his economic base. And this is the reason why I'm going to look right in the camera. This is the reason why, brothers, it is important and incumbent upon you to financially support brothers like Dr. Hasan Johnson, brothers like myself, brothers that like a medium man, an angry man, and so on, brothers that are willing to be your advocate and be your voice. Because I'm going to tell you something right now, gentlemen. It's a rare black man who does well financially because of other black men. The vast majority of black men who do well, look at our brother Shannon Sharp, for example. Look at the situation that he's going through. The reason why a lot of brothers are hamstrung is because they are making their money either from black women or white people. If you really want to be free, we have to make up our own economic base amongst ourselves. Dr. Umar Johnson, Paul Carrick Brunson, Ace Metaphor, all of Shannon Sharp, these are brothers that are constrained either by black women or by white people. The way to be financially independent and the way to have that independent voice is we have to support our own. Until we do that, we are never going to be able to tell the truth properly. This is the reason why our brother Kevin was so important about black men developing themselves economically. If we develop ourselves economically, we support ourselves economically, then we have the independence of thought and action that nobody can stop.
Absolutely. You mentioned Dr. Umar Johnson and his reluctance to give any credit to the black manosphere, but I do have to say I was surprised last year when he came out and admitted why so many black athletes were with white women. You remember? Did you catch that clip where he was talking about that? He was saying, you know, that they chase these brothers down when these brothers don't have a pot to piss in. He's a first year freshman playing sports, but he doesn't have any money. I mean, she's bringing him his favorite dinner. She's showing up to practices. She's helping him with homework. Now that hit me because I'm at Fresno State, as you know, athletic campus, you know, football, basketball, I mean, and baseball, you know the deal. I see this every day. I see it every day. And there's no guarantee these brothers are going to play sports after college, let alone go play pro. I mean, some of these cats end up going right back home to their mother's couch. Sad enough to say, especially if they receive an injury. But I gotta say, when I look around the campus, when they are with white women, and I'm not suggesting that they all are, but when they are, these women find them before. So by the time he's getting drafted somewhere, she's sitting there, but she's been there for 4 or 5 years, you know, as opposed to this idea that she just showed up at the draft. So I was a little surprised when Umar said that, knowing the kind of base he caters to. But I think it speaks to, you know, the realities of what we've been talking about for years. And he had to acknowledge that. There's some truth behind it in terms of how black men.
You know what's interesting about Dr. Umar Johnson? What's interesting about our brother Dr. Umar Johnson? He wanted to be at the conclave last year.
Really?
We just couldn't. Yeah. He found out what we were doing at the conclave. He was shocked that he said, "Wait a minute, you guys got a whole event that's nothing but black men, top to bottom. Y'all fund it yourself, and y'all work with nothing but black men." We said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Man, I got to be a part of that." We just couldn't fit him on the schedule, and also we had concerns. We make sure that we can show improve at the conclave. That all the men, it's kind of like the Spartans of 300. Every man's got to be able to hold up his own shield and lock shield with the other brothers. And Dr. Umar Johnson was not able to get the school situation straightened out, and we didn't think that would be fair to the rest of the brothers to bring him in. He can't hold up his shield, but all the other brothers can hold up this shield. We didn't think that would be fair, so we didn't bring him in. But oh yeah, he wanted to be part of the conclave, man. See, these brothers are held hostage. They're held hostage by black women in his case, or white people in the case of Shannon Sharp, dangling that money over their head. This goes back to what I said again. Black men must fund our own initiatives. Do you know, Dr. Johnson, we have been accused of discriminating against black women because of our standing rule at the conclave. No ladies are allowed during business hours. During the proceedings, we close the door. Conclave means closed door private meeting. That's why we call it a conclave, because it's a closed door private meeting. And the brothers, when we close the doors and we lock the doors and we talk shop, there's no cameras, we talk shop and we don't embarrass anybody, anything like that. What goes on at conclave stays at conclave, and we talk shop and we solve the world's problems. The ladies are not permitted. We've had black women threaten us with lawsuits. We say, go ahead and threaten us with a lawsuit. You are not going to determine policy at the Black Manosphere Conclave. Why? Because brothers pay for it. That's why. We receive no government funding. We receive no ad funding. We receive no nonprofit funding. It is 100% private funding from the brothers. So therefore, we get to determine policy. The ladies don't get to determine policy. They don't get to determine how we run it. Black men founded it, black men fund it, and black men run it. And as far as the ladies are concerned, they are welcome to join us when it's time to socialize, and they know the rules. The brothers have to wear business and business casual, no exceptions. The ladies are to be fit, feminine, and friendly, no exceptions, no big backs, period.
I was so not ready for the last sentence. Ew. Now I want to give hopefully give you a chance to weigh in, because you've mentioned a guest that you're going to be interviewing soon. This is somebody you've been talking to for a while, I imagine. This is a paper you sent me by Mads Larson. Is that the proper pronunciation?
Yes.
Mads?
Yes.
Okay, so it's entitled "Enough with the Incels: A Literary Cry for Help from Female Insings, Involuntary Single." Now I can go ahead and go through the abstract, but I wanted you to kind of share a little bit about this, because you mentioned him earlier, and I just kind of want people to understand the significance of his research in regard to your work. So if you could tell us a little bit more about is it Dr. Larson?
Yes, Mads Larson. This is the gentleman that I interviewed last week. We talked for almost 4 hours. Everybody can go and check it out over on Rumble. I've got clips that are going on the conversation on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. But you can see the whole thing in its entirety, front to back, almost 4 hours plus questions from the audience over on my Rumble. Just look for my name. You'll find me over on Rumble if you haven't already done that. Professor Mads Larson wrote this paper. And he makes the case that while the incels has been getting a lot of attention for the past 10 years, there is also the female version of the incel known as the insing, which means involuntarily single. Now, what that means is this. These are women who are typically average at best looking, and they have access to really sexy guys for short-term sexual encounters.
Right.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. One night stand, weekend fling. But they are unable to get these brothers for a relationship because the guys basically pump them and dump them, pump and dump.
But they become the new standard
a major
for her.
problem.
But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That becomes her new standard because she's had sex with him.
That's
she thinks that that's now the level she can have relationships at. Correct.
But what we call a 49er. A 49er is a woman who's a 4 who thinks she's a 9 because she was able to get a 9 man to knock her down for a night. So now she believes that because I was able to get a 9 man to bust me down for a night, therefore I am a 9 woman. No, you're 4 that was able to get a 9 man to bust you down with the quickness. And when he was done with you, he put you back out the pasture. We call that 49ers.
Amongst my students, a lot of the guys used to, for years, would talk about how the women sitting next to them in class not only wouldn't give them the time of day, but had incredibly high standards in terms of he needs to have 6 figures, he needs to drive $100,000 car and this and that. And one, we know it's completely unrealistic, especially since both he and the woman sitting next to him in my class are first generation college students and broke. But the other side to it nobody talked about is she was able to have sex with somebody that was doing well. And from then on, that became her idea of what was her lowest level. That's what she would, and most of them ended up either, pregnant from a man who was nowhere near that, or just stayed single indefinitely. Right. So that's when I first started to see it, but I'm glad to see it's being, bared out in the research.
Professor Larson, because he does both quantitative and qualitative research. So the paper is a masterful blend of both. And he details a woman named Amanda Romare, Romare. She is a Swedish national. She lives in the city of Malmo, Malmo, in Sweden. That's a major city in Sweden, Malmo. And she wrote a book in 2021, semi-autobiographical book, similar to How Stella Got Her Groove Back by Terry McMillan, similar in that vein. It's called Half of Malmo Consists of Men Who Dump Me. And what she did, she's a 49er. And she went on Tinder and had a string of sexual encounters with really hot guys in the hopes of getting a second date. None of them called her back for a second date. They just pumped her and dumped her. In the book, she went 0 for 7. But when I talked to Professor Mads Larson, he told me the real life Amanda Romare did this 50 times. Okay? Now, I want to say this, because this is very important. Let me look in the camera. On this body count piece, a number of brothers would say to me, Mumia, you don't understand. These ladies out here, they got 40 and 50 and 60 bodies. And I was like, oh, come on. I'm thinking the brothers are exaggerating. No, they're not exaggerating. Because of social media, because of dating apps, it is not out of the realm of possibility for a woman that's a 4, let's say, to be able to rack up that many bodies. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. You know what I really want to say. But you know what I'm going to say. Rack up that many bodies. I was watching Shannon Sharp interview Miss Brittany Renner. Some of y'all might have seen it. If you haven't, you can go back and watch this. At one point in the interview, Miss Brittany Renner reveals where her body count is. And I believe she said something like 70 or 80 or something like that. It was a really high number. Shannon Sharp almost passed out. Okay? You can go back and watch it for yourself. This woman, Amanda Romare, has 50 bodies. Now we see the reason why the brothers are rightly concerned about a woman's body count. And in today's world, where they're not going to be judged, where they're independent, strong independent, don't need no man, really generous welfare state propping them up. They got that smartphone. Women can't go nowhere they can't go to the bathroom without that smartphone in their hand. They always got to have that in their hand. And they can get on Tinder and these dating apps. It is not out of the realm of possibility for these women to rack up a body count, 50, 60, 70 bodies. That stuff is real. That's real.
Yeah. And we know, and shout out to Medium Man. He's been doing a lot of work on this, the rise in STI rates. He talks about it specifically in Texas. He talks about it in the DR. He's done some very specific videos covering that. It's an even more dangerous time to be playing like that in the current era we're in. So in the era of the reach back, shout out to AC. Be careful, brothers, because they're coming at you in all kinds of ways, and you want to be safe. Make sure we're all protected. Now, out of due respect, we're coming up on an hour and a half. I want to just really give you an opportunity to tell people where they can find your work, tell them about your book, tell them about anything else you want to share so that folks can support what you're doing.
Yes, the number one place you can find me on the air is over on Rumble. That is the answer to YouTube. It's like the anti-woke version of YouTube. YouTube is woke. Rumble is not. There are a lot of really popular people over there. Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, Steve Crowder, David Rubin, and others are over on Rumble. So they're all about freedom of speech. There are things that I can say over there that I have to be really careful about saying over here, especially with my brothers over here on YouTube. So y'all can all follow me and support me over there. You can support me on my locals community, which is connected to Rumble. You can support me on my Patreon, www.patreon.com/Mumia Obsidian Ali. As a matter of fact, I got some really nice content getting ready to drop for the premium members over there tomorrow. You can support me, like I said, over on Rumble. You can also support me over at the Black Manosphere Conclave website, www.blackmanosphere.com. That's where you can see all the information for the conclave. You can schedule consultation time with yours truly with my books. I have 3 books out right now. The Black Book that we call the Black Book, the Book of Obsidian, a manual for the 21st century Black American gentleman. The second book, the Red Book, the Book of Obsidian, the ladies edition, and my most recent book, which debuted at #1, Toxic Femininity, the Black Man's Guide to Modern Black Feminism. I've recently finished a book about our good friend and brother Kevin Samuels. He sanctioned it only a few weeks before he died. I finished that book. It's called The Gospel of St. Kevin Samuels. That will be published in time for the conclave in September. And I also have a book, and you'll find this of interest, Professor Johnson. I have a book on cane and walking stick self-defense. It's called The Book of Cane, Self-Defense for the 21st Century Black American Gentleman. That book will also be out later this year as well. So that'll be 5 books that I've written so far. I have about another baker's dozen of books to write before it's all said and done.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I appreciate it, man. I know you got a crazy schedule. I wanted to thank you for coming up, man. We really appreciate it. Let me know if there's anything else I can help pub, especially as we get closer to the conclave.
Yes. Let's. I hope I'm not a stranger. Now that I've got a really nice studio set up and whatnot, I hope to come back a lot more often and sit in and ride shotgun with you and your illustrious audience. Thank everybody for taking their holiday evening. This is a holiday weekend, Memorial Day. Thank all the brothers out there that serve our country. You are true patriots. Sometimes, and I'm not proud of this as an American, but many times our brothers in the military were not honored. I saw you earlier talking about reparations for the brothers with the GI Bill. My father was a Marine. He served in Korea. He got back home from Korea and he wanted to go to trade school on a GI Bill. He said they took all the white GIs and put them in the front of the line, and they got all the good spots, and whatever was left over was for the black GIs. Okay.
Right.
My grandfather was a Marine, Montford Point Marine, in World War II. He was a drill sergeant, and they had segregated barracks. They put the white GIs in the front in the mess hall, and they get to eat first, and then they took all the black GIs and put them in the back. And he said that there were white officers in the Marine Corps who did not agree with that, but they had to do it because that was the law at the time. And then President Truman came along and finally desegregated the military. So to all the brothers of all the branches who serve our country honorably, I salute you, brothers. Thank you for your service. And thank you, Professor Hasan Johnson, for having me on here tonight. It's been a really, really great pleasure and honor. Hopefully I'll be back again in the not too distant future. Listen, man, you got to come on out to the conclave. We'd love to have you in September.
Okay. Y'all are out in Florida?
Yeah. And we're going to be in Miami, man.
Oh, goodness. All right. And you said that's September?
Yeah. Well, now Miami, we all know what this is about. So we try to be diplomatic here. We all know what's down in Miami. So what we did, because we got to Dr. Umar Johnson is right. We got to stay focused. We have the conclave at a location that is not on the main drag. The main drag in Miami is Brickell Street.
Okay.
That's where all the action is. We didn't want to be there because you could be distracted. So we're about a mile away. Okay. So if you want to walk there or catch an Uber there, you can do that on your own time. We wanted to be sequestered from that so we could keep our focus. Okay. Boys will be boys. We understand that. But when we're focused on doing our work, we focus on doing our work. And then when the days business is done, then we can kick back with a nice cocktail, and the ladies are welcome to entertain us.
Yeah. All right, brother. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night, bro.
You
Obsidian is still crazy. I love it. I hope y'all are good. I appreciate y'all coming through tonight. I want to hear your thoughts about everything from the latest addition to the Black Male Political Agenda, your thoughts about some of the points we raised, everything including job losses, unemployment. There is one other thing, and I'm going to do it now, even though it's out of the conversation, unfortunately, but I forgot to do it earlier. So I just want to include this. As we talk about these job losses, there's something I want to share just real quick, just to give us some context. So this is the BLS report, and I showed this in my last show when we were talking about the job losses in question here. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me just line it up so that you guys can actually see both lines of data that I'm trying to show you, because this is important. This is important. Okay, I see what it did. Just move it up right there. All right. So here we go. So check this out. So if we look here, if I can enlarge that. God dang it. The thing is getting really unwieldy. So this is dealing with what we've been talking about this show and the last show as far as Black women and job losses. And I just kind of want to provide some context to what we're looking at. All right. So the bottom yellow line, are you serious? This thing is really moody as hell, boy. I'm telling you. All right. It's sloppy, but this, at least you should be able to see it. All right. So the bottom line is what we've been talking about this last month as far as Black women and the unemployment rate. And what they're saying is that for March and April, you can see the difference with Black women, where they went from 5.1 in terms of their unemployment rate in March and 6.1 as far as their unemployment rate in April. So their employment rate went up a whole point, and we saw that there were 106,000 job losses. We also know, as I said earlier, there were even more prior to that. But what I want you to keep in mind is that Black men have been done no favors at any point. We constantly have to get it out the mud. So if one of the things you can look at here is, yes, the unemployment rate dropped for us in March and April, went from 6.1 to 5.6. But I want you to look at January. If you see January here in red, the first cell in red, we were at 6.9. We were at 6.9. All that to say that we have to keep grinding. We have to keep moving forward. The difference between us and other demographics, and most particularly Black women, is none of us expect a safety net. We never did. We've never been conditioned to, because we've never had one. So I want us to keep our head up. I want us to keep moving forward. I want us to keep pushing and grinding, doing whatever you do. And yeah, things are changing. There are opportunities that we're looking at. But at the end of the day, I want you brothers to keep your guard up and keep in mind that as much as things may be happening to one group or another, Black men have had no political friends of any significance across the board. There are moments that we can take advantage of. There are opportunities that I believe will make themselves apparent as long as we move in lockstep, or to whatever extent we can do that. But at the end of the day, we can't ever forget, no matter what happens to other groups, we've always had to get it out the mud. So as far as I'm concerned, brothers, keep it pushing, keep your head up. Don't let any of this get to you. Pay attention to what happens to others, but have no emotional investment in it. As far as I'm concerned, we just got to focus on what we're dealing with. That said, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section about everything discussed tonight. Anything you want to, talk about, ask about, anything you thought was missing, anything you thought was revelatory. I want to hear your thoughts. But I appreciate y'all coming through tonight, and I will see you next time. Peace.